If you want an opening that is simple, aggressive, and it's perfect for beginners, then you should definitely try the Vienna opening. It helps you to control the center, develop fast, and also launch early attacks without memorizing much moves. So it begins with the move e4, and after your opponent goes e5, you go knight c3, he goes knight f6, and here you just play f4. This is the Vienna Gambit, and here he can either take this pawn, he can go d6, or he can also play d5, striking in the center. So first, let's look at e takes f4. Well, then you can go e5 for attacking the knight. Now as you can see, this knight cannot move here anywhere, so he gotta go back. But here, you can play an in-between move with queen to e7. But against that, you can go queen e2. Now he gotta move back as this pawn is unpinned. Then you play knight f3, defending that pawn. And after he goes d6, trying to exchange the pawns, you just go knight to d5, hitting the queen. So after he moves back, you can go knight takes c7, sacrificing the knight, forking the king and the rook. And after he takes, you can go e takes d6, which is a discard attack on the queen. And then you can just grab the queen on the next move, and now you're winning. But what if here, he just goes back directly? Well, against that, you can just go knight f3, preventing this check. So after he goes d6, then you can just play d4, and after he takes, don't recapture, otherwise he can take the queen. Instead, you can go queen to e2, and after he goes something like say bishop e7, you can just take, and after let's say he goes knight c6, you can pin this knight, and now let's say he plays a6, then you can just take this knight, and after he takes, you can grab this pawn, and as you can see, you have option to castle any side, and this is going to be a good game for you. Now what if here he doesn't take this pawn, instead he plays knight to c6. Well, then you can just take, and after he takes, you can push this pawn attacking this knight. So he moves back, then you can just push this pawn again, and after he moves this pawn back, you can just play knight f3. After something like d5, you can just move this bishop out, castle on the king side, and you have a very good control of the center, and black is also behind in development. And what if here he doesn't take or play knight to c6? Well, he can go d6. Then you just play knight f3. Then after he goes knight to c6, you can just pin his knight to the king. Let's say he plays something like e takes f4. Well, then you can push this pawn. And after he goes a6, he can move this bishop back. Now let's say he plays something like knight e7. Well, then you can just take this pawn, and after he goes knight to g6, hitting this bishop, you can just play queen to d2. In any case he takes, you can take and activate the queen, castle on the king side, and then you will have pressure on the f file. So let's say he plays bishop e7 for example. Well, then you can castle anyway and continue your game by bringing that rook on the f file, or you can even launch a king side attack. And as you can see, this is a very strong position for white. Now let's look at black's best move, which is d5, counter striking in the center. Well, then you can just go f takes e5, and after he goes knight takes e4. Here you play queen to f3, putting pressure on this knight. So he can go knight takes c3. Now you don't waste time by capturing with the queen. Instead you can just go d takes c3. It opens up the bishop and also prepares for the long castle. Well, then he can say play bishop to e6 for example. Then you play bishop f4. Then after queen d7, you can just long castle here. And if they play something like say c5, then you can go for this tricky bishop c4. It's look like a sacrifice of the bishop, but actually he will lose the queen. Instead, he will go bishop to g4, trying to counter-attack you. But then you have this in-between move with e6, attacking this queen. So let's say he grabs this pawn, but then you can just grab this pawn. And let's say he grabs the rook, well then you can grab this pawn. And after he grabs your bishop, you can just give him a check. Then after he goes down, you can develop the knight. And as you can see, black's king is not very safe, and he's going to be checkmated in just a few moves. You can take this bishop anytime, you can take this knight anytime, or you can also give this check and pick up the rook as well, and you will be winning. For example, he goes bishop to e2, then you can just play rook e1, and after let's say he tries to trade the queens, well then you can just take this pawn with check, he moves back, Now you're hitting the rook as you can see. So he can try trading the queens, but then you can take his bishop, and this is over for black. So now you know how to play the Vienna opening. And if you want to learn some more amazing chess openings like these, then you can check out this left playlist. And if you want to learn some chess traps to win easily, then you can check out this right playlist. And if you don't want to miss the upcoming videos, then don't forget to subscribe.